This presentation is for the Cambridge National in Engineering Manufacture and it's offered by the OCR examination group. On this slide we'll look at what you'll cover on the duration of the course and the future opportunities by studying this qualification. So let's have a look. You'll cover the different types of manufacturing processes, the materials that can be used and what other factors need to be considered in engineering. We'll look at selecting and safely using equipment. That will be done theoretically and practically. And how to manufacture a one-off product using hand tools and manual machines. We'll then look at how to manufacture in large quantities using software and computer controlled machinery. Now, by this very nature, this clearly is a course that lends itself very well into industry. And let's have a look now at the future opportunities. By developing applied knowledge and practical skills, this course will help you give the opportunity to progress onto A-levels, a Cambridge Technical Award in Engineering, an apprenticeship or university. But as I've just said, industry will very much appreciate somebody who does this qualification. Manufacturing engineers can work in any industry that produces a final product, with opportunities in aerospace, automotive, biotechnology, clothing, food, drink, medicine. Also if we look at the local industries that we have around us, for example, there's JCB, there's Jaguar Land Rover. We are surrounded with opportunities, and they'd very much appreciate somebody who's done a course such as this. Let's have a look at building futures through practical skills. You'll develop a range of skills to help you succeed not only in the workplace but in other subjects too. So this subject will help you in other subjects that you may be studying, because you'll be developing problem solving skills, planning skills, and no matter what you progress on to, the skills you learn from the Cambridge National will prepare you for a relevant future. This qualification has 3 units that we need to complete. There's manufacturing a one-off product, manufacturing in quantity, and the principles of engineering manufacture. The first 2 are NEA, and the last one, principles of engineering manufacture, is an examination. This is a breakdown of each or all 3 of those units, and what we'll do over the next few pages is look at each of them in detail. Let's have a look at the first unit of work. This unit of work will be published by the examination board, which is OCR, on January the 1st of year 10. What they would do is they as a centre would design a product, and they would then publish that document to all centres on the same date, and schools would then work out how they were going to go about manufacturing that product, and we would use the technical drawings to help us tool our machines and make sure that the processes were ready and fit for purpose. To accompany the practical product though, you have to produce a portfolio of work, and as you can see on this slide, it is clearly set out. There are 5 tasks that you will need to show. The first one is that you can actually plan a manufacturing process. Okay, so you would need to describe what materials are needed, what the processes are in a step-by-step way, what tools and equipment are required, the sequence in which it's supposed to be manufactured, and any health and safety and quality control mechanisms that you may put in place. The task following that would be a risk assessment, identifying potential hazards and control measures, which is something that we've been doing in year 7, 8 and 9 anyway. And then task 3 is for you to demonstrate that you have the ability to measure and mark out. Task 4 is your machining skills. Task 5 is the ability for you to use tools and equipment. You would submit the practical outcome, and you would submit the evidence of your manufacturing at the end of that unit. So it's published on January the 1st and it's submitted on or before May the 15th of year 10. So On return of the summer holidays in year 11, you would then move on to the second unit of work, which is published by the examination board on September the 1st. This is similar to the first unit, but instead of manufacturing an item on a one-off basis, they require you to manufacture a product on a repetitive scale. So you can see here an example of a product that the examination board has designed, and they would expect you to demonstrate how is that manufactured on a repetitive basis. Again, task 1, they'd require you to show the manufacturing templates. Task 2, that they would want you to produce a standard operating procedure. Task 3 is the ability for you to use CAD software. Task 4 would require you to show that you can set up and operate CNC equipment, and in our school we would be working with the laser cutter and the 3D printer. And then task 5, they want you to demonstrate that you have an ability to quality control the process. Again, it's evidence of you manufacturing on a repetitive scale, but accompanied by a portfolio of work. This would then be submitted to the exam board prior to the Christmas of year 11. In the summer of year 11, you would be expected to sit a final examination in engineering manufacturing. It's a 1.5 hour paper, and that is split into two main parts, section A and section B. The content would be taught in a synoptic approach. What that means is that yes, there would be lessons where there is taught theory, but also you would acquire much of the knowledge by doing. So in a workshop you might be asked to learn about the centre lathe. We would teach you how to use the centre lathe. You'd be able to actually stand and use it in a practical way, and therefore when you are asked a question on this in an examination basis, you would then refer to not only the taught lessons, but you'd also refer to the practical lessons and your practical experience. There are 4 topics that you would be required to gain the knowledge and understanding on. There is manufacturing processes, engineering materials, manufacturing requirements, and developments in engineering manufacture. So for example, in manufacturing processes, we'd look at wasting processes, in other words where you cut or you file, shaping processes, forming processes, additive manufacturing, so for example 3D printing is where you add to materials, joining processes, so it might be brazing, soldering, different types of welding, MIG welding, TIG welding for example, and then there's finishing processes, so it could well be that we're looking at what paints could be used in engineering, or whether there's dip coating that we could use. The engineering materials section, we'll look at the mechanical properties of materials. We'd look at other properties influencing manufacturing. We'd look closely at metals and polymers. There's no requirement in this course to look at timbers. We look at engineering ceramics, composite materials and smart materials. As I say, there's no timbers and there's no textiles. Manufacturing requirements, we would look at interpreting orthographic third angle projection drawings. We would look at influence of the scale of manufacture on the production methods, so that could be mass production, batch, continuous, one-off, and we'd look at the quality of products, so quality assurance and quality control. Developments in engineering manufacture might be looking at inventory management, lean manufacturing and the effects of globalization. So here are some examples of some questions that are typical in the examination. Let's just look on the left hand side for section A. They are all multiple choice questions. So here's an example. What type of process is drilling? And you just be required to tick A, B, C or D. And yes, you're correct if you've ticked wasting. then you've got the answer right, because if you drill into something you are removing material and therefore it is wasting. And there are 2 more examples there for you to have a go at. Following this, we've got section B. Now, section B are questions which require you in the first instance to put very like 1-word answers to questions, and as it progresses it gets slightly more complex. The most marks that you'll be awarded for any questions in this paper is 6 marks. So the question in the middle of the slide is, you've been asked to turn a metal component using a centre lathe. Identify the 4 parts of a centre lathe that have been labelled. And again, you'd acquire that knowledge by doing. Yes, you could look in a book, yes, you could be taught this in a theory lesson, but the best way of learning in this course is by actually doing. On the right hand side, an engineering company are going to mass produce engineering parts for cars. They're going to use computer aided manufacture or CAM machines and the just-in-time manufacturing process. Okay, so CAM lathes are widely used in engineering. Name 2 of the types of CAM machines. Okay, so we'd teach you about CAM. You'd use some of the machines that we've got, and again, by doing, by observing, you'd be able to acquire that knowledge. And then at the bottom of the slide, actually, that's an interesting question. Identify and explain 1 way in just-in-time can improve the performance of the company. In that case, we would look at companies like Toyota, and we'd look at their model and how they employ just-in-time within their production lines. Let's just have a little look at what a Cambridge National is. Let's be absolutely clear. A Cambridge National is equivalent to a GCSE. Okay, I don't want anybody thinking that, you know, this is a course that doesn't have parity. It absolutely does. So let's just look at this screen. We can see here there are 2 levels, level 1 and level 2. We'll be looking at doing a level 2 Cambridge National. So if you achieve a pass in this subject, that is the equivalent to a grade 4. Okay, now for some of the parents that might be looking at this, in old money that would be considered to be a grade C. If you achieve a merit in this subject at a level 2, then what we're looking at is we're looking at a grade 5 or a grade 6, and for the parents who are looking at the screen, that's a grade B. If you achieve a distinction level 2, you will be awarded a qualification that's the equivalent to a grade 7 or the grade A. And then if you are distinction star, what we'd be looking at is we'd be looking at an 8 or a 9. That is the equivalent of the A star. So you can clearly see that there is parity there, and you know, do not be under any illusion that no matter where you go on to, whether it's a sixth form college or our sixth form, we would consider this qualification to be absolutely equivalent to a GCSE. Those students that get awarded a level 1, that is where basically you've achieved the equivalent to a grade 1 at GCSE. A merit is the equivalent to a grade 2 at GCSE, and a distinction would be considered equivalent to a grade 3 at GCSE. So what are your next steps? Well, firstly, you could talk to people. You could talk to teachers. You could talk to other students. Discuss this at home. Really important that you find out the answers to your questions. If you do have any questions that you would like to ask but don't want to talk to somebody in person, you could email your questions or queries to myself at nbarrett@keslichfield.org.uk. If you would like to go and have a look at the AQA examination board itself and look through the specification, then I've provided a link below.